This reminds me of a tale of one of my friends, from parts unknown, who asked their mother for the full registered copy of Doom on their 13th birthday. Well, sadly they couldn't afford the game and instead gave them a registration code and a couple of floppy disks that are officially blank and not free trial discs of AOL. I don't know, I just made the story up. But I could imagine the birthday boy feeling disappointed at first. Anyway, what if I told you that Valve Software isn't the only developers that used Quiver as a name for a project? Enter ESD Games, who are responsible for this obscure first-person shooter game released on March 5th, 1997. The game received mixed reviews at the time and was downloaded over 500,000 times, which should be a decent amount of downloads if you think about it. As you can tell, this is just yet another game that came out at the wrong time because at that point, you already had well-known games like Duke Nukem 3D and Quake, and we had a 3D accelerator card that instantly gets you bitches at every LAN party imaginable. But what if I told you that this game was designed for users stuck on their low-end 486 machines? That's right, this game was programmed on a 33MHz 486DX with a 512K VESA local bus video card. The game was meant to be a Doom clone that ran on inexpensive computers while still being fun. Well, I'll be the judge of that as I've completed this game for this video, and I will be expressing my thoughts on it. Since this game is also designed for 486 machines, I have been playing this on the late era of Backrooms 486DX4 clocked at 100MHz. Now, not much is known about the game's storyline aside from the aliens have stolen some orbs that allow time travel, and the player's goal is to infiltrate their bases and recover the orbs. But I could imagine the developers don't really care too much about the story. The action's what's there. Upon starting up the game, we have 3 episodes to complete, but for whatever reason, there is this option for an add-on episode which is unselectable. Now, I don't know why, because there isn't really any sign of a level editor for the game. At least not to my knowledge. According to the README file, the controls aren't reconfigurable, and knowing myself, I am not too great at playing keyboard only. So I decided to play this game with a mouse only, except for certain functions on the keyboard like jumping. Which reminds me, the jumping function is just strange, but at least it works, I guess. My first impressions on this game is decent, though the game does look to be less violent than the more popular 3D shooters of its time. I mean, heck, even Descent, which came out a few years prior, was also looked at as a less violent 3D shooter. But unlike Quiver, which is just your ordinary 3D shooter, that game has 6 degrees of freedom movement. Also, instead of gunning down demons and monsters, or probably robots, you're essentially just gunning down insects and rats. Well, not only just that, you have these spongy floating orbs rapidly shooting out projectiles at you, and they are really tricky to dispatch. But the giant one requires at least the last weapon of the game called the Medusa Sphere to protect yourself against them. Which reminds me, some of the weapon names in this game were just wacky. You start off with the Spiker that shoots out what appears to be darts, and then there is the Fajita Maker. At first I thought it was just some dorked up rename of a Dragon Ball Z character because of the way it's spelled, but googling it just brings me to some cuisine that originated in Texas. Regardless of the name, it shoots out a wave of 3 fireballs. The blaster acts more like a shotgun. That is all. The Shredder claims to be a grenade launcher, but it's kind of a similar case with the Grenader from Chasm the Rift, where bouncing projectiles weren't really implemented and behave more like glorified rocket launchers. But unlike the Grenader, the Shredder just sticks on walls before exploding a wave of projectiles. The last few weapons consist of alien hands. While one of them feels like a shotgun, the other 2 deals more damage at a cost of some of your health points, which may explain why the maximum health is set at 500. I kind of find it interesting considering that many first-person shooters at the time usually have the maximum health set at 200. But the most common way to get to 200 health is by picking up a mega health power-up, whereas Quiver has none. Most of the time, you'll just find orange health packs that give you a bit of health, while the white health packs give you 100 health each, so be sure to write that down if you plan on playing through this game. The level design, while a tad bit confusing at times, has some interesting features coming from a game designed for low-end 486 machines, like Room Above Room. Also, I assume, judging from the auto map, that this game is one of those grid-based raycasters. However, What I really dislike about the level design is by the time you've completed episodes 1 and 2, playing through episode 3 without cheats is impossible, and it's for one reason and one reason only. In the second level of episode 3, despite having all 3 of the required orbs to proceed to the next level, for whatever reason, the developer broke the exit teleporter, and unfortunately it was completely left out despite a patch or two being released, at least according to my knowledge. To make matters worse, not only I had to use a warp cheat to go to the next level, I made an attempt to pistol start the third level of the episode, which was a big mistake on my part, and sadly I ended up cheating my way, not only once, but twice, by giving myself all the weapons just to finish this broken episode. It was at this point that I wanted to get this episode over with because knowing myself, I hate having my hands forced into cheating just to complete a game. Also, get a load of this FAQ document where it asks, why can't I beat Quiver?
Because you suck. Even Mike can beat Quiver, and he has that joystick problem.
First off, Quiver is completely unbeatable without cheats, and second off, no Mike. You just suck at programming. Now, regardless of the disappointing third episode, what are my thoughts on this game? I'd say it's pretty decent, but I can kind of see why it had a mixed reception. It would have been more forgiven if the game came out around in 1994 or maybe 1995. But when this game came out, people were so hyped up about the various Quake killers at the time. But even then, there were also people who just stuck around with what they had. Because even when the anticipated titles ended up coming out in the storefronts, their machines were unable to handle it or just couldn't run at all. If you do want to try this game out for yourself, I will state that this game is currently abandonware, and at the time of writing this, I only found the 486 compatible version of this game. There was a Pentium version of Quiver somewhere that you could order directly from their website, but this isn't the 1990s anymore, and this site is long since gone. Now, do I recommend this game to anyone? Well, if you are somebody who is curious about these obscure games, then feel free. Otherwise, you're not missing a lot. Though, if you do plan on playing through this game, I advise playing through the first 2 episodes and be done with it afterwards. Unless somebody has found a level editor somewhere just to make a fix for episode 3, but until then, I would just avoid episode 3 unless you don't mind cheating. Though, one more note is that the music is pretty decent actually. It was composed by the same person who composed the soundtrack for I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I have never played that game to be honest, as I am not too big into adventure games, but who knows I guess. Well anyway, that's about it for this video. Have you ever played this game before? If so, what are your thoughts on it? I would like to hear about it in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, and as always, peace out everybody. See ya!